The line of warriors stretched for almost a kilometer inside Station Viridius. Taman had never seen so many different species in one place before. There were tall ones with 4 arms, short ones covered in thick armor plating, and some that floated in containment fields because they breathed different atmospheres. All of them looked confident. All of them looked like they belonged here. Taman did not belong here. He was a merchant marine officer, 28 years old, and he had only come to this station to deliver a shipment of medical supplies. His captain had sent him to get the delivery manifest signed by the station administrator. That was it. Simple job. Sign the papers and get back to the ship. But then Jiwan, the station administrator, had grabbed his arm when she saw his identification card. "You're from Earth?" she asked, her eyes going wide. "Yes, ma'am," Taman replied. "Born in Busan. Is there a problem?" Jiwan looked at him like he was something rare and valuable. "Do you know what's happening here today?" Taman glanced at the massive crowd of warriors. "Some kind of trial?" "The Ascension trial," Jiwan said. "It happens once every century. Warriors from all 47 star systems come here to be tested by the scanner. If it accepts you, you get access to the ancient vaults. Technology from before the collapse, weapons, ships, knowledge lost for 10,000 years. "Okay," Taman said slowly. "But I'm just here to deliver supplies." Jiwan pulled him toward the line. "Humans are rare out here, very rare. Most of your species stays on Earth. I've been administrator here for 12 years and I've only met 3 humans. Please, humor me. Let's see what the scanner says about you." Taman wanted to argue, but Jiwan had the authority to delay his manifest approval. He needed that signature, so he followed her to the front of the line, ignoring the angry looks from warriors who had been waiting for hours. The scanner stood in the center of a circular platform. It was a pillar of dark metal covered in symbols that seemed to shift when Taman tried to look at them directly. A pale blue light pulsed from its core like a slow heartbeat. The warrior at the front of the line was Doyen, a Valorian champion. He had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle, and his skin was the color of storm clouds. Tattoos covered his body, each one representing a victory in combat. Taman had heard of him. Everyone had. Doyen had won over 200 fights in the arena circuits. He was fast, strong, and absolutely deadly. Doyen placed his primary hand on the scanner's surface. The blue light intensified, running up and down the pillar like it was examining every part of him. The crowd went silent. This was it. If anyone could pass the test, it was Doyen. The light turned red. A flat, emotionless voice came from the scanner. "Insufficient. Genetic potential does not meet parameters," the crowd gasped. Doyen pulled his hand back like he had been burned. His face showed shock, then anger, then disbelief. He tried again. "Same result, insufficient, that's impossible," someone in the crowd muttered. But it kept happening. Warrior after warrior approached the scanner. Each one confident. Each one certain they would be chosen. And each one was denied. Hyunwoo was next, a Kralthic warlord whose species was known for strategic brilliance. The Kralthics looked like mantises, tall and thin with compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. Hyunwoo had conquered 3 star systems through clever tactics and planning. If raw strength was not enough, surely intelligence would be insufficient. The crowd began to grow restless. Arguments broke out. Some warriors accused the scanner of malfunctioning. Others claimed the trial was a fraud. Station security moved in to keep order. Jiwan pulled Taman forward. "Your turn." "This is crazy," Taman said. "I'm not a warrior. I've never even been in a real fight." "Just put your hand on it," Jiwan insisted. "I'm curious." Taman sighed and stepped onto the platform. The crowd barely noticed him. He was human, average height, no special features. Compared to the warriors around him, he looked plain, ordinary, weak. He placed his hand on the scanner's surface. It was warm to the touch, almost like living skin. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The blue light did not even pulse. Taman thought maybe it really was broken. Then the pillar exploded with golden light, not red. Not blue, gold, bright and blazing like a star. The light shot up the pillar and spread across the ceiling, forming patterns that looked like star maps and genetic sequences. The symbols on the scanner's surface began to spin rapidly, glowing with the same golden color. Everyone stopped arguing. Everyone stopped moving. They all stared at the pillar, at Taman, at the impossible light show happening around him. The voice came again, but this time it was different, deeper, more alive. This was not a recording. This was something that had been sleeping and had just woken up. Prototype, Origin. Clearance absolute. Genetic authentication confirmed. Welcome home, inheritor. The light faded slowly, but the symbols continued to glow. Taman pulled his hand back, his heart racing.
What just happened?
Jiwan's face had gone pale. I don't know. That's never happened before. Never in any recorded trial. Doyen pushed through the crowd. What is this? Some kind of trick. No trick, the scanner's voice replied. And everyone froze again because it was answering a question. In 10,000 years of trials, the scanner had never done that. This one carries the origin template. All systems recognize his authority. Vault access granted. Full administrative privileges activated. The floor beneath Taman's feet began to glow with the same golden light. Lines of energy spread out from where he stood, racing across the platform and up the walls. Panels that had been sealed for millennia slid open with a hiss of ancient air. Vault door opening, the scanner announced. Inheritor, proceed inside. Wait, Taman said, backing away. I don't want to go inside. I just want to deliver my supplies and leave. But the crowd was pressing in now. Everyone trying to see, trying to understand what was happening. Station security formed a barrier around Taman, but they looked just as confused as everyone else. Jiwan grabbed his arm again, but this time her grip was tight, almost painful. Taman, listen to me. Whatever just happened, it's important. The ancient vaults have been sealed since before any of our civilizations existed. The technology inside could change everything. And it just opened for you. Why? Taman asked. I'm nobody. I'm just a delivery guy. The scanner called you inheritor, Jiwan said. It said origin template. I think it recognized something in your DNA. Something human. Across the platform, the vault door had fully opened. Inside, Taman could see lights turning on one by one, illuminating a massive chamber that seemed to stretch on forever. The air that came out was cool and smelled faintly of ozone. Doyen stared at the open door with hunger in his eyes. If the human won't go in, I will. He started toward the entrance. The moment his foot touched the glowing line on the floor, energy barriers snapped into place, blocking his path. Warning klaxons blared. Unauthorized access attempt detected, the scanner said, and now its voice had a hard edge to it. This facility responds only to origin template authentication. All others will be denied entry. Doyen backed away quickly. The barriers disappeared, but the message was clear. Only Taman could enter. Jiwan looked at him. You have to go in. Even if just to see what's there. This is bigger than your delivery schedule. This is bigger than all of us. Taman looked at the open vault, at the waiting darkness beyond those first lights. He thought about his quiet life, his simple job, his plan to save enough money to buy a small apartment back on Earth. All of that suddenly seemed very far away. He took a breath and stepped toward the entrance. The crowd parted for him silently. When he crossed the threshold, the golden light followed him inside and the vault came fully alive. The inside of the vault was like nothing Taman had ever seen. The chamber was huge, with walls made of some kind of crystal that glowed softly. Geometric patterns floated in the air, shifting and changing as he walked past them. Pedestals rose from the floor, each one holding objects that looked both technological and organic at the same time. But the strangest thing was that the vault seemed to recognize him. As he moved deeper inside, lights turned on to show him the way. Panels on the walls displayed information in a language he should not be able to read, but somehow he could. The words just made sense in his mind, like they were translating themselves. Inheritor detected. Beginning orientation protocol. A figure appeared in front of him, made entirely of light. It looked humanoid, but with proportions that were slightly off. Taller, more graceful. The face had no features, but Taman could tell it was looking at him. Welcome, the figure said. I am the custodian of this facility. I have waited 50,000 years for one of the origin line to return. 50,000 years? Taman repeated. That's impossible. Humans have only been in space for about 200 years. Humans have only been spacefaring for 200 years, the custodian corrected. But your species is much older than that. Older than any other intelligent species in this galaxy. Before Taman could respond, he heard voices behind him. Jiwan was entering the vault along with several others. One was a woman Taman recognized from news broadcasts. Borum, a xenoarchaeologist who had spent decades studying ancient civilizations. She looked around the vault with tears in her eyes. It's real, Borum whispered. It's all real. With them was a well-dressed man with cold eyes, Kyung-Soo, a representative from the Galactic Council. He looked at Taman the way someone might look at a valuable resource that needed to be controlled. Behind them came Minho, a Valorian military commander. His forearms were crossed and his expression was dark. This is a security risk. One human should not have access to this much power. The custodian's form flickered. This facility only responds to origin template carriers. Your presence here is tolerated because you entered with the inheritor. Do not test my patience. Kyung-soo smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. We mean no disrespect. We simply want to understand what's happening here. Taman, you're clearly special. The Galactic Council would like to help you manage this responsibility. Borum ignored him and approached one of the walls. Her hands moved over the symbols displayed there. These are genetic sequences, and these are star charts. They're showing the development of different species across the galaxy. She turned to look at Taman. Do you know what this means? No, Taman admitted. It means the stories were true, Borum said, her voice shaking with excitement. The architects, the ones who came before, they didn't just leave technology behind. They created us, all of us, the custodian nodded. Correct. The architects seeded this galaxy with intelligent life approximately 50,000 standard cycles ago. Each species was engineered for a specific purpose. The Valorians were designed for physical strength and combat prowess, the Kralthics for strategic thinking and pattern recognition, the Silurians for environmental adaptation. Each species was optimized. Why? Jiwan asked. Why create so many different species? Survival, the custodian replied. The architects were fleeing an enemy they called the Devourers, entities that consumed entire galaxies. The architects knew they might not survive the final battle, so they created successor species. Each one was given strengths that would help them survive in the galaxy the architects would leave behind. Minho stepped forward. If the architects created the Valorians for strength, what were humans created for? The custodian turned its featureless face toward Taman. Humans were not created. Humans are the architects. Silence filled the vault. That's impossible, Kyung-soo said. Humans are technologically inferior to most species. They have no natural advantages. They're weak compared to Valorians, not as smart as Kralthics. They have no special abilities at all. Exactly, Borum breathed. They're unspecialized. They're the control group. The custodian projected an image into the center of the room. It showed a double helix, a strand of DNA. The architects took their own genetic template and modified it to create other species. Each modification added strengths but also limitations. Valorians are strong but require high-gravity worlds. Kralthics are intelligent but have shortened lifespans. Every specialization came with a cost. The image shifted to show Earth. One population of architects was left unmodified. They were placed on an isolated world, away from the conflicts of the galaxy. They were meant to develop naturally, slowly, preserving the original template. That world was Earth. Those people were your ancestors. Taman sat down on the nearest surface. His legs suddenly felt weak. So humans aren't newcomers to the galaxy. We're the originals? In a manner of speaking, yes, the custodian said. The architects hoped that if they fell in battle, their descendants on Earth would eventually develop space travel and rediscover what was left behind. The vaults were designed to only open for someone carrying the unmodified genetic template. Someone human. This changes everything, Borum said. She was pacing now, her mind racing. All the other species thought humans were primitives who got lucky. But we're actually the parent species. We're the ones everything else came from. Kyung-soo's expression had changed. The polite smile was gone. Now he looked calculating. If this information becomes public, it could destabilize the entire galactic order. Species will demand that humans share this technology. Wars could break out. Then we keep it secret, Minho said. We seal this vault and make sure no one else learns about this. You cannot seal what has been opened, the custodian said. The vault activation sent out a beacon. It's a signal that hasn't been transmitted in 50,000 years. Every functioning ancient facility in the galaxy received it. They are all waking up now, and they are all looking for the inheritor. As if to prove the point, screens along the walls lit up. They showed different locations across the galaxy, stations, planets, structures in deep space. All of them were activating, all glowing with the same golden light that had come from the scanner. How many facilities are there? Jiwan asked. 2,347 major installations. Approximately 15,000 minor sites. All of them are now online and awaiting instruction from the origin template holder. Kyung-soo moved fast. He pulled out a communication device and spoke quickly into it. "This is Council Representative Kyung-soo. I need a containment team at Station Viridius immediately. We have a Class 1 heritage situation." Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Taemin looked at Ji-won. "What's happening?" "He's trying to take control of you," Ji-won said. "If the Council can control you, they control all this technology." Minho was already moving toward the entrance. "I'll secure the perimeter. If the human tries to leave, we detain him. This is for the security of the galaxy." The custodian's form brightened. "Unauthorized hostile intent detected. Activating defense protocols." Energy barriers appeared, cutting off Minho's path to the exit. The Valorian commander drew his weapon and fired at the barrier, but the shot was absorbed harmlessly. "You will not remove the inheritor from this facility against his will," the custodian stated. "Lethal force is authorized if you continue hostile actions." Kyung-soo held up his hands. "Nobody needs to die here. Taemin, be reasonable. You're one person. You can't possibly manage all of this alone. Let the Galactic Council help you. We have resources, experts, everything you need." "What he means is they want to control you," Boram said quietly. "I've worked with the Council for 20 years. They don't share power. They take it." Taemin stood up. His mind was spinning with everything he had learned, but one thing was clear. He needed time to think, and these people were not going to give it to him. "Custodian, can you keep them here while I figure this out?" "Yes, Inheritor." "How long do you require?" "As long as it takes," Taemin said. He started walking toward a different exit on the far side of the chamber. Kyung-soo called after him. "You're making a mistake. You can't run from this." But Taemin kept walking. The vault opened passages for him that closed behind him immediately. Within minutes, he was in a section of the facility that looked like living quarters, old but preserved perfectly. There were beds designed for human proportions, food synthesizers with menus in Earth languages, and windows that showed views of distant stars. He sat on one of the beds and put his head in his hands. His simple life was gone. Everything had changed in less than an hour. And somewhere out in the galaxy, thousands of ancient facilities were waiting for him to tell them what to do. Through the walls, he could hear the custodian's voice echoing through the station's communication system. The message was being broadcast on all frequencies in all languages. Origin template authenticated. System reactivation initiated. All ancient facilities are now online. Seekers of knowledge, seekers of truth, turn your eyes to Earth. The inheritors have returned. Taemin closed his eyes. There was no going back now. Station Viridius descended into chaos within hours of the broadcast. Ships arrived from every corner of the galaxy, some carrying diplomats, others carrying soldiers, and still others carrying religious pilgrims who believed humans were divine beings sent to save them. Taemin watched from the windows of his quarters deep inside the vault. The custodian had shown him how to access security feeds, so he could see what was happening outside. The docking bays were overwhelmed. Fights broke out between different factions. Ji-won was trying her best to maintain order, but she was just one person managing a disaster that was growing by the hour. A knock came at the door. Taemin tensed, but the custodian spoke in his mind. "A friend approaches. Seojin, human registered pilot. He carries no weapons and means you no harm." The door opened. A man around Taemin's age stepped inside. He had short hair, a cocky smile, and the confident walk of someone who had been in dangerous situations before. "So you're the guy who broke the galaxy. Nice to meet you. I'm Seojin. How did you get in here?" Taemin asked. "I told the glowing AI thing that I was human and I wanted to help. It let me through." Seojin looked around the ancient quarters. "This is wild. I've been flying cargo ships for 5 years and never saw anything like this." "You're a pilot?" "One of the best," Seojin said with no modesty. "Ex-military, got kicked out for not following stupid orders. Now I work freelance, and right now I think you need a pilot who can get you out of here." "Why would you help me?" Seojin's smile faded a bit. "Because I'm human, and apparently that means something now. Every alien out there is looking at our species differently. Some want to worship us, some want to control us, some want to kill us before we become a threat. I figure if you're really the key to all this ancient tech, then you staying alive is pretty important for humanity." Taemin wanted to argue, but Seojin was right. Staying on the station was not safe. "I need to get to Earth." The custodian said that's where the central control systems are located. Earth is halfway across the galaxy, Seojin said. And every government, military, and crazy cult between here and there is going to try to stop you. We'll need a good ship and a better plan. The custodian's voice spoke aloud this time. Bay 17 contains an ancient scout vessel. It has been dormant for 50,000 years, but will respond to the inheritor's presence. I recommend you use it. Seojin's eyes went wide. You have ancient ships here? Working ancient ships? 17 functioning vessels of various classifications, the custodian confirmed. The scout is fast and equipped with defensive systems. It should serve your needs. Should? Taemin repeated. The galaxy has changed much since these ships were built. I cannot guarantee your safety, only your advantage. They found Borum and Yoonji waiting outside the quarters. The Kralthik scientist had been allowed into the vault because Borum vouched for her. Yoonji's compound eyes studied Taemin carefully. You're really going to Earth? Yoonji asked. I have to, Taemin said. Everything points there. Then I'm coming with you, Borum said. I've spent my whole life studying the architects. I need to see where it all started. Me as well, Yoonji added. The Kralthik people were created for understanding patterns and solving problems. If there are secrets to unlock, my skills will be useful. Seojin nodded. Fine. The more brains we have, the better. But we leave now before the council or the military locks down the station completely. They made their way through the vault to Bay 17. The ship waiting there took Taemin's breath away. It was sleek and organic looking, like it had been grown rather than built. The hull was a deep blue that seemed to shift colors in the light. When Taemin touched it, the metal was warm. Welcome, Inheritor, the ship's AI said. I am ready to serve. Getting past station security was easier than expected. The custodian created a distraction by opening multiple vault doors at once, drawing attention away from Bay 17. By the time anyone realized what was happening, Seojin had already piloted the ancient ship out into open space. That was too easy, Borum said, looking at the sensor displays. Why aren't they following us? They are, Seojin replied, pointing at the screen. About 50 ships just launched from the station. But watch this. He activated the ancient ship's propulsion system. The stars outside stretched into lines, and suddenly, they were moving faster than anything Taemin had experienced before. The ships following them fell away instantly, unable to match their speed. This is incredible, Seojin laughed. This ship is faster than anything in the current fleets. We could outrun anything, but their relief was short-lived. As they traveled toward Earth, they began picking up transmissions from across the galaxy. News feeds showed riots on multiple worlds. Religious groups were forming around the belief that humans were gods. Anti-human protests erupted on planets where people feared human dominance. And most concerning, military forces were mobilizing. A message came through on an encrypted channel. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She was human, probably in her 40s, with intelligent eyes and an air of authority. Taemin, my name is Hayun. Don't respond to this transmission. Just listen. Taemin glanced at the others but stayed quiet. Earth governments have known partial truths about the architects for about 30 years, Hayun continued. We've been preparing for this possibility. There are groups on Earth that have been training in secret, getting ready for the day when ancient facilities activated. I'm part of that group. When you reach the Sol system, look for the dark side of Earth's moon. There's a facility there, Luna Station. That's where you'll find answers. The transmission ended. Luna Station? Borum said. I've never heard of any ancient facility on Earth's moon. Because it's been hidden, Yoonji suggested. If Earth governments knew about the architects, they would have kept it secret. Revealing it would have changed humanity's place in galactic society. They continued toward Earth, but the journey was not peaceful. Twice they were ambushed by ships trying to capture them. The first group belonged to a religious faction that wanted to take Taemin to their homeworld to study him. The second group was mercenaries hired by unknown parties. Both times the ancient ship's defenses saved them. Energy shields absorbed incoming fire, and when Seojin activated the ship's weapons, they cut through enemy vessels like they were made of paper. I feel bad about this, Taemin said after the second attack. People are dying because of me. People are dying because they chose violence, Yoonji corrected. You did not ask for this. You were simply born human. On the 10th day of their journey, they picked up another transmission. This one was public, broadcast on all major frequencies. It was Kyung-soo, speaking from what looked like the Galactic Council chambers. Citizens of the galaxy, We face an unprecedented crisis. Ancient technology is activating across all systems, and only humans can control it. This represents a dangerous concentration of power. The Council has voted to implement emergency measures. All human citizens are required to register with local authorities. Earth is hereby placed under protective quarantine until we can establish proper oversight of these ancient facilities. Quarantine? Borum said angrily. They're trying to imprison an entire planet. It's worse than that, Seojin said, pulling up military movement reports. Look at this. Fleet Admiral Minho is commanding a blockade force heading to the Sol system. 300 ships. They're not there to protect Earth, they're there to control it. Taman felt sick. How long until they arrive? Based on these trajectories, they'll reach Earth in about 12 days. We'll get there in 5 with this ship's speed. Then we have 5 days to figure out what's on Luna Station, Taman said, and hopefully find a way to stop this from becoming a war. As they approached the outer edge of the Sol system, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The sensor display lit up with contact markers. Hundreds of ships surrounded Earth's solar system. Some were Council forces. Some were independent militaries. Some were unknown. They're all just sitting there, Seojin said, waiting. Then Earth's moon suddenly blazed with light. Energy signatures erupted from the dark side, massive and powerful. The readings were unlike anything their sensors had seen before. A new voice came through the communication system. Deep, ancient, but unmistakably protective. This is Luna Station Automated Defense System. Earth is under ancient protection protocols. All unauthorized vessels have 60 seconds to withdraw beyond the outer system boundary, or you will be neutralized. The ships began backing away immediately. Whatever was on that moon, it had weapons that made the entire gathered fleet nervous. Luna Station to the approaching ancient vessel. The voice continued. Origin template holder detected. You are cleared for immediate landing. Defense systems are standing by. Seojin looked at Taman. Well, I guess we're expected. As they descended toward the moon's surface, massive doors opened in the lunar rock, revealing a structure that could have housed 1,000 ships. Lights activated in sequence, illuminating a facility that was clearly built for humans, but on a scale that suggested the architects had expected their descendants to inherit something vast. The ship settled onto a landing platform, and the doors closed above them. When they stepped out, gravity generators activated, giving them Earth-normal weight. A figure was waiting for them. Not a hologram this time, but a real person. An older man in simple clothes with kind eyes. Daeho was not human. Not anymore. Taman realized this quickly as they followed him deeper into Luna Station. The old man moved too smoothly, never seemed to get tired, and his eyes sometimes flickered with light like a computer screen. You're an AI, Borum said. It was not a question. Partially, Daeho replied. I was human once, 50,000 years ago. One of the architects. When we knew we might not survive the war with the Devourers, some of us volunteered to become digital guardians. Our consciousness was uploaded into systems like this one. I've been waiting here, maintaining Luna Station, preserving humanity's inheritance. They entered a massive control room. Screens covered the walls, showing Earth rotating peacefully below, the gathered alien fleets in the distance, and status reports from ancient facilities across the galaxy. In the center of the room was a table displaying a holographic map of the entire galaxy. This is beautiful, Yoonji breathed, her compound eyes taking in every detail. This is necessary, Daeho corrected. Luna Station is not just a facility. It's the central command node for every ancient installation in this galaxy. From here, someone with the Origin template can control defensive grids, communication networks, and weapon systems spanning millions of light years. Seojin whistled. So Taman could basically control the entire galaxy from this room? If he chose to, yes, Daeho said. But that was never the intention. Let me show you the real history. He activated the holographic display. The galaxy appeared, but it looked different. Younger. The stars were in different positions, and entire sections that were now empty showed as populated. 50,000 years ago, the architects were the dominant species in this galaxy, Daeho began. We had achieved what we thought was the pinnacle of civilization. Peace, prosperity, advanced technology. Then the Devourers arrived. The display showed something entering from outside the galaxy. Dark shapes that moved like living things but were massive enough to consume entire star systems. What are they? Taman asked. We never fully understood, Daeho admitted. biomechanical entities that feed on both matter and energy. They move from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything, leaving nothing but empty space behind. We tried to fight them with conventional weapons. We lost entire fleets. Billions died. The display showed battles, worlds falling, the architect civilization crumbling under the assault. We realized we could not win through force alone. Deho continued. So we created a plan, a desperate long-term plan. We would seed the galaxy with new species, each one engineered to survive in the ruins we would leave behind. We gave them intelligence, culture, technology. We scattered them across thousands of worlds. And we kept one population unmodified, humans. Borum said softly. Yes. We took a group of our people, about 10 million individuals, and placed them on Earth. We erased their memories of the architects, of the war, of everything. We set them back to a primitive state and let them develop naturally. We hid Earth behind sensor barriers and temporal distortions so it would not be found, and we locked the greatest technology behind genetic authentication that would only respond to unmodified human DNA. Why? Taman asked. Why not just tell them the truth? Because the Devourers are attracted to advanced civilizations, Daiho explained. They sense organized technology, collective consciousness, concentrated power. A primitive species developing slowly would be invisible to them. We hoped that by the time Earth's humans developed space travel naturally, the Devourers would have moved on to other galaxies. But they're coming back, Unji said, looking at the display. Yes, Deho confirmed. He changed the display to show current data. Far beyond the galaxy's edge, dark signatures were approaching. Our long-range sensors detected them 3 months ago. They're returning, following the same path they took when they left. They'll reach this galaxy in approximately 30 cycles. About 90 days. Seojin sat down heavily. 90 days until the things that destroyed the architects come back. Great. Perfect. What are we supposed to do about that? Fight, Deho said simply. The architects built a defensive network before we left. Weapon platforms, shield generators, automated fleets, all of it has been dormant, waiting for someone with the origin template to activate it. That someone is Taman. One person? Taman said. You want one person to activate a galaxy-spanning defense network? Not alone, Deho said. He activated another screen. It showed Earth's surface focusing on specific locations around the planet. Military bases, research facilities, hidden installations. Earth's governments have known partial truths for 30 years. When archaeologists found the first ancient sites, they realized humans were connected somehow. They've been preparing quietly, training people, building infrastructure, studying what little technology they could access. A woman appeared on the main screen. It was Hayun, the same one who had sent the encrypted message. Deho, I see our guest has arrived. Hayun leads the Inheritance Initiative, Deho explained. A coalition of Earth's governments working together for once. They've been waiting for this day. How many people are part of this initiative? Borum asked. About 50,000 trained personnel, Hayun replied. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, pilots. All human. All ready to help activate the ancient defenses. But we can't do it without someone who can authenticate at the command level. That's you, Taman. Taman felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. I'm just a merchant marine. I don't know how to run a war. You don't need to, Hayun said gently. You need to authenticate the system so we can run them. Think of yourself as the key, not the hand that turns it. What about the other species? Unji asked. The Kralthics, Valorians, everyone else in the galaxy. Do they know the Devourers are coming? Not yet, Deho said. We've kept that information contained. If word spreads now while tensions are already high, panic will make everything worse. People deserve to know, Taman said. They do, Deho agreed. And you'll tell them. But first you need to decide what kind of announcement you're making. Are you claiming the ancient technology as humanity's alone? Are you sharing it equally? Are you offering protection in exchange for allegiance? These questions will determine whether the galaxy unites or tears itself apart. A proximity alarm interrupted them. Juna, a human officer in military uniform, rushed into the control room. Admiral Minho's fleet just entered the outer system. They're ignoring the boundary warnings. They're coming straight for Earth. Deho's expression darkened. How many ships? 300 and counting, Juna replied. They're arrayed in attack formation. This isn't a quarantine. This is an invasion, Seojin stood up. Luna Station has weapons, right? Can we fight them off? Luna Station could destroy their entire fleet in approximately 4 minutes, Deho said. But that would mean killing hundreds of thousands of people. Many of them are just following orders. Is that what you want, Taemin? Taemin's mind raced. He thought about Doyen, the Valorian champion who had been denied by the scanner. He thought about Kyungsu's calculating eyes. He thought about all the species across the galaxy who were scared, confused, and desperate. Open a channel, Taemin said. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. Hayun worked the controls. You're live. Every ship in the system is receiving. Most of the galaxy will pick this up within the hour. Taemin stood in front of the camera, very aware of how ordinary he looked. No special uniform. No weapons. Just a 28-year-old man in a merchant marine jumpsuit. My name is Taemin. I'm human from Earth. A few days ago, I was nobody important. I was just trying to do my job. Then the ancient scanner recognized something in my DNA, and everything changed. Now I'm standing in Luna Station, looking at Earth, looking at all of you gathered around my home world. And I need to tell you the truth. He took a breath. The architects who built all this technology, who left the vaults and the facilities across the galaxy, they didn't disappear. They were my ancestors. They were human. 50,000 years ago, they created most of the species in this galaxy through genetic engineering. They did it because they were fighting an enemy called the Devourers. They lost that war, or at least they couldn't win it. So they created successor species and hoped you would survive. Murmurs came through the communication channels. Taemin continued. Humans weren't uplifted. We weren't lucky primitives. We're the original baseline that everything else came from. That's why the ancient technology responds to us. It's genetic authentication. We're literally the children of the architects. He paused. And I just learned that the Devourers are coming back. In 90 days, the things that nearly destroyed this galaxy will return. And we need to be ready. The channels exploded with voices. Questions, accusations, disbelief. I'm activating the ancient defensive network, Taemin said, speaking over the noise. Not for humans alone. For everyone. For every species in this galaxy. But I need your help. The architects built these defenses, but they've been dormant for 50,000 years. We need engineers, soldiers, scientists from every species working together to make them operational. You expect us to trust you? Someone shouted over the channel. It sounded like Minho. You could use those weapons against us. I could, Taemin admitted. Luna Station had never been designed to hold this many people. Representatives from 47 different species crowded into the main assembly hall, a space that Deho had enlarged using ancient construction technology. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate different atmospheric requirements. Translation systems struggled to keep up with dozens of languages being spoken simultaneously. Taemin stood at the center platform, very aware that he was the youngest person in the room by at least 20 years. Yuna, Earth's chief diplomat, stood beside him. She was an experienced negotiator in her 50s, but even she looked overwhelmed by the scope of what they were facing. This is madness, she whispered to Taemin. I've spent my whole career trying to get 3 governments to agree on trade policies. Now we're trying to unite 47 species. We don't have a choice, Taemin replied. The Devourers don't care about politics. Doyen was there representing the Valorian Empire. He had spoken in favor of cooperation after Taemin's broadcast, which had cost him political support among his own people. Now he sat with arms crossed, watching the arguments unfold. Kyungsu represented the Galactic Council's diplomatic wing. He was still pushing for oversight and control, though his language had become more careful after Taemin's public statement. Yunji was present as a scientific advisor, along with dozens of other specialists from various species. They had spent the past week analyzing the data Deho had provided about the Devourers. Minho sat in the military section, surrounded by fleet commanders from multiple species. He had been quiet since arriving on Luna Station, watching Taemin carefully but making no moves against him. The arguments had been going in circles for hours. Some representatives wanted immediate activation of all ancient weapons. Others wanted guarantees about human intentions. Still others questioned whether the Devourer threat was even real. Show us proof, demanded a Solarian delegate, her scaled face skeptical. All we have is the word of a human and an AI that claims to be 50,000 years old. Deho stepped forward. He projected images from the ancient war, recorded footage of Devourer attacks, worlds being consumed, fleets being destroyed. The room went silent. This was the Battle of Krendax Prime, Deho said. Population 12 billion. The Devourers arrived and consumed the entire planet in 16 hours. No survivors. This happened 47,000 years ago. And this is happening now. He showed current sensor data. The dark signatures at the galaxy's edge were closer, moving faster than initial projections suggested. They've accelerated, Yunji said, her compound eyes studying the readings. At this rate, they'll reach the outer rim in 60 days, not 90. Panic rippled through the assembly. 60 days to prepare for an enemy that had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Kyung-soo stood. Even if we accept this threat is real, how do we know the ancient defenses will work? 50,000 years is a long time. Systems degrade. Technology becomes obsolete. The architects built to last, Daeho replied. But you're right to be concerned. The defense network has 12 primary nodes spread across the galaxy. Each node controls hundreds of weapon platforms and shield generators. All 12 must be activated and synchronized for the system to function at full capacity. That requires human genetic authentication at each location. How many humans do you have who can do this? Minyo asked. His voice was neutral, but his eyes were calculating. About 50,000 trained personnel on Earth, Yuna replied, but the nodes are spread across the entire galaxy. Travel time alone would take weeks, and we only have 60 days. The ancient ships can help, Seojin said from where he stood with other pilots. They're fast enough to reach all 12 nodes in time. But we'll need volunteers to go with the humans. Engineers, soldiers, scientists. This isn't just a human problem anymore. And that's where the real issue sits, Kyung-soo said. You're asking us to send our people to remote locations with humans who have exclusive control over the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. How do we know this isn't a trap? Taemin had been quiet, letting the others argue. But now he stepped forward. You don't know. You have to trust us. The same way we have to trust you not to use this crisis as an excuse to attack Earth while our attention is elsewhere. Trust is earned, not given, Minho said. Then let me earn it, Taemin replied. He looked at Daeho. Show them the weapon activation protocols. Daeho hesitated. Taemin, that information is classified at the highest level. Not anymore, Taemin said. Show them everything. How the weapons work, how they're activated, what their capabilities are. If we're asking people to trust us, we need to be transparent. Daeho projected detailed schematics throughout the room. Technical specifications, activation sequences, power requirements. Information that would take years to fully understand, but enough to show that Taemin was being honest. The weapons require two-stage activation, Daeho explained. First, a human with the origin template authenticates at the command level. Second, an operations team of at least 5 individuals physically engages the power systems. The weapons cannot be fired by one person alone. They require cooperation. Could be a trick, someone muttered. It's not, Yunji said suddenly. She had been studying the schematics closely. I recognize this design philosophy. It's the same one the architects used in everything they built. Redundancy and cooperation. Nothing critical runs on a single point of failure. They were trying to force their descendants to work together. Borum nodded. She's right. Every ancient site I've ever studied has the same pattern. Individual access requires authentication, but activation requires teamwork. The architects were telling us something. They didn't want any one species to have all the power. Doyen stood. Then we do this properly. Each activation team should be mixed species. Humans to authenticate, but representatives from multiple civilizations to operate the systems. That way no one group controls everything. And who decides which species go where? Kyung-soo asked. We draw lots, Yuna suggested. Fair and random. Every species that volunteers gets equal chance of placement. The room erupted in discussion again, but this time it was different. Less hostile. More practical. People were talking about logistics, about supply chains, about training requirements. A voice cut through the noise. Quiet, but commanding attention. It belonged to Rayon, a human strategic advisor who had remained silent until now. We're thinking too small. The defense network is important, but it's not enough. The Devourers consumed entire civilizations. They adapted to every weapon the architects used. If we just sit behind shields and shoot at them, we'll lose eventually. What are you suggesting? Minho asked. Attack, Round said. The best defense is offense. We need to hit them before they reach populated space. Force them to fight on our terms, not theirs. That's insane, someone said. The architects couldn't defeat them in open battle. The architects fought alone, Rayon countered. They had specialized slave species, but those species weren't soldiers. They weren't partners. We have 47 civilizations with different strengths, different strategies, different technologies. The Kralthics have superior tactical planning. The Valorians have unmatched physical combat capabilities. The Solarians can survive in environments that would kill most species. If we actually worked together, we might have something the architects didn't. Unity. Taman felt something shift in the room. People were listening now. Really listening. We activate the defense network, Taman said. But we also build an offensive fleet. Every species contributes what they can. Ships, soldiers, technology. We coordinate our strengths instead of competing with them. The Origin Accord, Una said suddenly. That's what we should call it. A formal treaty. Humans provide access to ancient technology. Every other species provides military and scientific support. Equal partnership, equal risk, equal reward. Kyung-soo looked around the room, reading the mood. Slowly, reluctantly, he nodded. The council would need to review the exact terms. But the principle is sound. If we're going to die, we might as well die together. It was not exactly inspiring rhetoric, but it was honest, and somehow that mattered more. We need to vote, Una said. All in favor of the Origin Accord as outlined. Equal partnership, joint command, shared responsibility. Hands went up. Not all of them. Some representatives abstained. A few voted against. But the majority supported it. The measure passed. Taman felt relief wash over him, but Daeho's expression remained serious. Don't celebrate yet. The easy part is over. Now comes implementation. You have 57 days to activate 12 defense nodes, coordinate 47 different military doctrines, and build a unified fleet, and the Devourers are getting closer every day. Alarms suddenly blared throughout Luna Station. Juna rushed into the assembly hall. Long-range sensors just detected something. The Devourer advance scouts. They're not waiting for the main fleet. They're here now. The room went silent. Then chaos erupted as representatives rushed to view the sensor data. Daeho pulled up the readings. 3 signatures had appeared in an uninhabited system on the galaxy's outer rim. They were massive, each one the size of a small moon, and they were moving toward the nearest populated planet. How long until they reach it? Minho demanded. At current speed, 18 hours, Daeho replied. Which planet? Doyen asked. Valorian.